Hello and welcome to the Compiled Podcast. This is a show where two programmers talk about anything and everything. My name is Nick Wu, and each week in each episode we'll have a topic, and the goal of the show is to compile the topic down to a list of essential points for our listeners. Each guest will have their own list, so then we don't always have to agree on everything. If you haven't listened to the pilot episode, I've done a short recording where I talk about just myself and why I'm starting this podcast. So I won't do that this week. Let's get right to the guest. So our first guest, proud to be here, is Brennan. Brennan, why don't you give us a short intro?
Sure. My name's Brennan Proudfoot. Look me up on LinkedIn. I go to UNC Chapel Hill, and that's where I met Nick. He studied abroad at Chapel Hill from Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I currently am in San Francisco right now on an internship, and I'm going into my master's.
Right. You're just about to finish the internship soon, right?
Yeah, this is actually, so I had my final presentation 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
I had my final interviews yesterday, and
Okay.
I walked out of my interviews and felt so much pressure come off of me because that's been hanging over me the whole summer. I feel like, is Google the only company that does conversion interviews?
I think all of them do that. Well, apart from Facebook, but Facebook is more leaning towards on how you do in your project, and people have to work overtime for that sometimes. So I've heard. I've
talked to my Amazon and Microsoft friends, and neither of them have to either.
Oh, I have no idea then. Apparently they do things a little bit differently, and I think even in Google it's different from case to case. For example, I never had to do a conversion interview.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Oh, because you've been here 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I've devoted most of my summers since first year. So I felt like I've earned the right not to do it.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
sorry I got you off track.
Yeah. We've left off a little bit. So next we want to get through a speed run where we ask it's like in the pilot episode where we ask just a bunch of short questions to our guests, so then you sort of get to know them. So Brennan, I hope you're ready. So there's 6 I'm just gonna fire them off one by one. So here we go. Question 1: what's your favorite programming language?
I'll say Java. With the addition in Java 8 and Java 9, it's actually really nice to work with now. So yeah, probably Java.
Yeah, so the Lambda stuff and all the functional things that you can put in, right?
Yeah, that's been my whole project. Or not my whole. Well, my whole project has been in Java 8, so I've had to learn a lot of the Lambda stuff, which has been really interesting, and it's a lot less verbose now, which is nice.
Yeah. I think they've at some point they've understood that it actually takes a long time to write all of that stuff, so then they've tweaked it a little bit, which I think is quite nice. Just by the way, when I answered this list, my favorite language, I also said Java. So
nice.
Yeah. So question 2: what's your least favorite programming language?
Okay. Does MIPS count?
Oh, mate. Okay. So
I guess that's too low level.
Yeah. I mean, it still is. It still is. It still is. I have no idea what you have endured in. Was it 401? Was it 411?
411.
411. Yeah. I didn't do that class, so I have no idea what you have experienced. But yeah.
Oh, and in 541, which was the digital logic class, I made a 2-player Snake game in MIPS.
Oh yeah,
not Snake, Pong.
Yeah, do you remember the time I was at Citizen when I saw you playing with a board, like electric board with lights on, and you're doing this bouncing effect? Was that the thing? I remember.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. I
right.
forgot you were there when I was.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
were stuck, and I walked in, and all right. I'm sure you have your fun. You've had your fun with MIPS then.
Wait, actually, I'm gonna change it to an indie pick. Maple. Maple
Oh
is a programming
yeah.
language that was written by a guy at NC State, and he made everyone who took Calc 3 with him use it. And so
Oh
I
wow. I have no
took Calc
clue.
3 in high school,
Do you know
and
what?
he
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
uh so it's kind of like MATLAB,
Yeah.
but it's like way worse. I don't like MATLAB to start with, and he took all the worst parts of MATLAB and made it into a programming language, and then made everyone who takes his class use it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Maple.
Yeah. So funny enough, when I answered this question, I said my least favorite language is either C or MATLAB, and there's a funny story to that as well. Well, not to this question, but what relating to what you just said. So you said Maple was invented by some guy at NC State, and then he made all of his students. Well, one class of his has to learn it and to use it in his class, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is, have you heard of Haskell?
Yes.
So Haskell is a functional programming language. So one of the not one of the first, but one of the most popular one.
Mhm.
It was invented in Edinburgh, and as such, what they did was every freshman in every first year in Edinburgh in computer science has to learn Haskell as their first language. I was so confused in that like from going from like a completely object oriented world going into functional without any sort of pre-course. It's bad.
Mhm.
It's bad. If you haven't tried it, it's bad. Yeah, don't try. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's funny.
Yeah. Right. Let's go on. Favorite operating system: Windows, Mac OS, or Linux?
Uh, I'll say Linux or Mac OS.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I like Unix-based systems, and both of those are Unix-based.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically what it
Let's
says as
see.
well. uh,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
no, Linux is just a little bit tougher to work with. Like, I wanted to download a screen recorder to record my final presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and
Oh,
I
okay.
had to like find out what distro I was on, choose the right one to download.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot trickier than Mac, where you just download the DMG and then everything's taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on. Spaces or tabs? This is the holy grail. Spaces or tabs?
uh, so I use tabs, but I'm honestly kind of ambivalent. Yeah, I have no fight in this race.
Okay.
No horse in this race.
I mean, nowadays most of these stuff are taken care of by like a formatter that's sort of embedded in your IDE or your text editor, so you don't really
Yeah.
you don't really do that yourself. But still, it's a nice thing to look at from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
So next one, Emacs or Vim or both.
If I had the option, I would choose neither.
Okay.
I mainly use Sublime.
Okay.
But yeah, or IntelliJ, I guess, for
Yeah.
Java stuff, but Sublime for everything else.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've had some very bad experiences with Vim. Not strictly Vim's fault. That's like what I've used when I want to use C.
Yeah, I think
So
that's what like one of the first things that people complain about Vim is like how do I get out of this? Right? They go in and
Yeah,
then
I
they
had to
completely freaked out. It's like, oh, how do I get out of this? Like, right?
I think so. My problem isn't with Vim. It's mainly working on the command line, trying to do some tricky stuff. So in OS, I wanted to copy some files over, and so once I'd copied them over, I wanted to delete the old files, and I unintentionally ended up deleting the entire directory because I'm an idiot. And then this was like an hour. No, this was 7 hours before the project was due. So it was due at 7, and this was 12 a.m.
Yeah. Oh.
So I stayed up the next 5 hours recreating the entire project.
Oh God. Yeah,
And
and
this
it's
happened 3
non-recoverable, is it?
times.
It's non-recoverable when
Yeah,
you do
no.
it on the command line. If you own the GUI or like in the file edit or the file explorer or whatever, you can still recover it, but not in the command line though.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Last question. What is your dream job? Don't say programmer though. Well,
Okay.
if that is, by all means.
I mean, yeah, I guess short term, that's definitely at like a big company, Google. Facebook's evil, but
Okay, now we probably just lost like half of our audience right
you
there.
lost half of your no, Facebook, if you're listening, still hire me. Let's see, dream job. I really like movies and music, so I think being a reviewer of either of those things would be cool. If it wasn't, maybe a professional soccer player, that'd be pretty cool.
Ooh, that's very like you've listed 3 things which are all very different from one another.
Yeah, I feel like soccer is like the thing that gives me the most happiness, but I'm good, but definitely not good enough to be even near that level.
No, but it's so nice. It's a very nice sport. Were you excited by the World Cup this year?
Oh, that dropped my productivity down like 100%. I did not work during the hours of 11 to 1, which is when the games were shown in West Coast.
Yeah, I think England stuck until quite late. They got knocked out on the semifinals, was it? I think on the quarterfinals was the day I arrived in London, and it was so loud. Like every pub, it's full of people. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good attempt by well, England. If you listen to this, don't be mad. I'm fully with you. So
yeah.
Cool. So yeah, hopefully that it wasn't much of a speed run since we took about like 10 minutes just to go through them.
Yeah.
But whatever. We're just starting out, and we'll tweak things from in the future. So let's move on to our main topic, which is side project. So if you aren't quite familiar with the term, so essentially a side project would be something you worked on personally or just out of interest, but that's not part of your education or your job. So it will be some other stuff that you're working on. So before we go in with the little questions, Brennan, do you have a favorite side project of yours, or any side project of yours that you want to tell us about?
Sure. Yeah. So I think we're coming to this, but motivation for me is really, really tough for side projects, just because I normally have a very busy class schedule, or when I'm in a job, I'm coding for 8 hours, so I don't want to come home. But I've found that the side projects I am actually able to complete and start are ones that like make my life easier, or like relate to something that I'm interested in. So, I have like a 8,000 song Spotify playlist, and I wanted to know how many artists.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to know how many individual artists I had in my 8,000 song playlist, and I originally, in one of my first internships, when I was bored, I copied my playlist over to a secondary playlist and started deleting all duplicate songs by an artist. So I like sorted by the artist name, then would delete duplicate songs. So at the end,
okay.
I would find out how many. Got like, I think through probably K's before I realized I'd spent like 4 hours on it, and it was such a stupid thing to do because a program could do it in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So then I started working with Spotify's API, and then found a wrapper online for Java, and then I guess that's my first open source project too. I started adding to that, just adding some library functions for playlists. So like I was able to like find out how many individual songs I had, how many duplicate songs, sort it into genre. One thing that I really wanted to do and started off was, given a playlist,
Okay.
use TensorFlow or some other form of machine learning to find relevant songs based on a playlist. So say you have like 10 songs and 4 of them are rap, one of them is like dream pop, one of them is, I don't know, hard rock. Make a playlist that would be just kind of reflective of the tastes. And that's kind of what Discover Spotify does. This like predates Spotify's Discover
Yeah, I was gonna
playlists.
say, isn't it like what's it called? The radio thing, isn't it? Where
Yeah,
you just pick a song and you say start a radio when, and then well, it's just to one song, not a whole playlist though. So it might be slightly different. But yeah, I think yeah, I get what you do. So is that what you implemented, or is that something you think?
I got like halfway through. I got to the training phase to where it could classify
Uh-huh.
playlists, but the generation of playlists is definitely a lot more challenging.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're not Spotify, so I would have to have like a library of songs
Uh-huh.
uh, that conform to. So I would have to know, given that like a user likes rap, pick 5 rap songs, but there's no easy way on Spotify to like choose a random song by genre. Uh, so I'm sure it's easier with all the data Spotify has internally, but as like an external programmer, that would be very
Mm-hmm.
hard. So I think I'm a bit blocked there. I don't think I can move
Yeah,
forward.
actually, we'll talk about that in a bit. But before that, I want to sort of give a equal side of myself and just to describe a small side project of mine. So, earlier this year, if you aren't quite well, you probably won't know about this unless you're in the space. So one of the things that Google is focusing on this year was a open source SDK for mobile development called Flutter. If you haven't checked it, check it out. It's quite nice. So basically, what it does is, because most of my work is in a language called Dart already, um, and Flutter is completely in Dart, and it lets you basically write mobile apps for both iOS and Android. So when they came out, I researched a little bit, and I was like, okay, I want to try something out. So over the past 4 months ish, I've been trying to code this chat app with Flutter. Well, a little bit with a little bit of a twist. Instead of, so in normal chat apps, you'll have like somebody you can talk to, and then you just post whatever messages you want. It's a different as a twist to this. So in this app I'm writing, you can't actually send any text. The only thing you can send is emoji. So you have to either you have to get quite creative, or you're just not gonna be able to get it out. I mean that's yeah. I wasn't thinking about user experience when I was trying to go
Yeah.
about it. So yeah, it's quite nice. It's gone to a point where it's semi ready for alpha release. I would say. I'm still working on like little bits here and there. But it's good. It's working quite nicely. So I'm sort of stuck on that as well. On the bit where, do you know, like in your native chat, when you select emojis, when you select for example grinning face, and then it will be like 5 different colors. So you could have the white one, the black one, like a yellowish one, and then like every sort of skin color that they support, right? But
Yeah.
to do that, you basically say like you press on the emoji and it expands into all these different colors for you to choose. So I'm trying to do that same kind of behavior programmatically as well, and that's taking quite a bit of effort to get it right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but hopefully at some point we'll get it through. Yeah. Uh, so I mean, now that we have talked about all of our side projects, it becomes quite a moot point. It's like do you want to, should you do a side project if you are a developer? And I think I speak for myself, but I think you would agree as well that if you are a developer that's starting out, or at any stage of your career, you should always try to do something along the side, and not that's not part of your main main technical focus, but also try
Yeah,
to explore something else, right?
it's a good way to diversify. And after speaking with a lot of recruiters, apparently, uh, so they get like I think 15 seconds to look at a resume just due to the amount they get, and having side projects on a resume, like you can learn a lot from side projects, but like from a career focused perspective, having side projects on a resume shows that like not only are you like a good student, hopefully, but you like have actual interest in computer science enough to
Yeah,
like explore.
yeah, exactly. It shows that you care about, you're passionate about what you do, and you're willing to put in more time to try things out or explore different technologies.
Yeah.
And that's obviously good. And I think I've got a point here where it basically means, you know, this stuff. If you think about it, what you get taught in any sort of education, in whether it's a university or your self-taught or from any books, when it gets made, it was made for everybody and no one in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you might want, I mean, most like there are basics that you should and can get from books, but from there you need to find out, okay, I'm a, I'm interested in web, I'm interested in mobile, I'm interested in backend or infrastructure testing and everything. So in order to like sort of as Brennan just said, in order to sort of diversify your knowledge base, you need to try these things out. And one of the best ways to try it is by actually making something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You might like the point isn't even trying to get some sort of product out at the end of it, but just at the experience of working with said technology will expand your knowledge and sort of it's just pure experience, as in like how it is to work on this. And yeah, and also you might also come along and make friends during that process. And I to be honest, this is how we met, through distributed systems.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
That was the only class we had in common, and then we wouldn't have met otherwise, right? So
Yeah, and
uh,
years later, uh, like
yeah.
that project, those projects,
Oh my
have
god.
like made that connection.
Oh my god. I was trying to get everything ready yesterday, so I was doing some of my I was looking at my YouTube space, and I found the recordings of the demo recordings we had to make
Yeah,
for that class, and it was still up there. There's like 10 views or like 12 views and something. And somebody liked it. There was one I forgot like five of them, and then somebody liked the first one. I don't know who did that, but apparently someone in the internet liked it,
that's
which
funny.
yeah, which is quite cool. Yeah. Yeah, and also this is a side point, but I feel like it needs to be mentioned as well. Is um, like sometimes I don't know if you felt this before, like when you're on the job and you have just this one thing that I mean you're on the job, so you definitely got some sort of project in your working hours. Like
Hmm.
sometimes it gets to a point when you're so into it, and then it's stop being fun to work, like work the work. So then what I did was, like, when that happens, I try to find something else that I find that I'm actually, not that I don't want to do the work, it's just something else that I want to do along the side. And then these side projects has been a great deal of a great source of joy for me to
Yeah,
just code for fun and not expect it might not be as high quality, it might not be tested, it might not be all the things that should be done might not be there, but I'm just having fun on the Saturday afternoon. So yeah. uh have you felt that way before, or like ever?
so I totally get what you mean about after a certain point, you can just get so into your project, and I felt this just quite recently. I'd say probably about a week or two ago. I realized that the overall architecture of my project was such that I have no idea whether it will be used after I leave, which like led to like an existential thing. Is like, why am I working on this if it's not going to be used? And so at that point, I feel like it stopped being fun a little bit. But I don't know. I've come around. I feel like it's hard once you get into that mindset to get out. And I think that, yeah, working on something outside of work or just programming for fun. So I was not programming for fun because I had to worry about interviews, but like when I got stuck mentally on a project, I would go and do leak code or something just to take my mind off of it.
Oh wow. You're the first
So,
person I've met who said that. Like, I don't know about you. I've done. By the way, if you don't know about LeetCode, is this website you can go in and they'll have this little snippet of questions and you write. Basically, it will be like write a function that does a plus b and whatnot. And they have this unit test set up that basically verifies if you got it right. I don't know about you. Every time I go on LeetCode, because I did quite a lot of it for my interviews last year.
yeah.
Every time I did that, I feel like really a retard. I've never felt more stupid when I did lead code.
I've learned to choose questions carefully. I don't touch hards, because hards are absolutely ridiculous and would never get asked in an interview. And yeah, I know completely what you mean. I was talking to someone yesterday and was like, the more I do leak code, the less confident I become in my skills. But
yeah, exactly. Like it's ridiculous. Sometimes I was what was it? There was one time, I was doing a question. I can't remember what it was. And it took me about 30 minutes. I wasn't able to write a single line, so I gave up. And so on LeetCode you can look at solutions that's basically been tested that other people wrote, and you can just, if you can't crack it, just read the solution. So that's what I did, and when I see the solution, and I was like, man, there's you didn't come up with this in 30 minutes. There's no way.
Yeah.
That's honestly how I felt. I was like, you couldn't have come up with this in 30 minutes in under the interview environment. There's no way.
Yeah.
That's my only sort of justification to save my feelings, but yeah, but I mean, sometimes it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Before my Microsoft interviews way back when, I knew that they were going to ask LeetCode mediums, because that's what I'd heard. So I went out and tried to memorize every single LeetCode medium question and solution.
Ooh. Okay.
It didn't end up being necessary because it turned out they only asked LeetCode easies. But that was one of like the most intense dumb things I've ever done, is try and memorize 300 questions and solutions.
Yeah, I think for the sake of our audience, and we can both attest to this, don't do that.
Don't do that. No.
Don't do that. It's not worth it. And also, like, I feel like, I don't know if this is true, but if you go into an interview and you get the question that you already know the answer to, it's hard to fake, it's very hard to fake, like trying to pretend to come up with the solution on the spot, because you know it, like deep inside you know it. So then, you're gonna, it's very hard to like try to like act as you haven't heard that before and just came up with the answer on the spot. I don't know if this is true. I'm probably just a bad actor on my bit. There's a reason I'm not an actor, so yeah.
I'll say that I normally tell interviewers if I've seen a question before, but every single one that I've told. So my interview yesterday, I told them that I'd seen a question before, and this happened at Microsoft as well. But the questions they choose were such that even if you knew the solution, the implementation was still tough enough to justify solving it.
Mm-hmm.
So like the 3 times that I've gotten a question I'd seen before and told them, they still had me do the same question.
Oh, okay. I think I've it's only happened to me once. Probably I didn't know that many problems. Um,
You didn't memorize
I didn't.
300 mediums?
I think it happened to me once, and then I told the person, and I think they just changed to a different. I think the guy was like, he's knowledgeable enough to know like 12 questions, just like that, and he can like if this doesn't
Yeah.
work, I will whip up something else, and yeah, it's I think like some of the interviews are really trained in that regard. Um, cool. So I think we've touched on this a little bit. So when you're starting out, when we're doing side projects, sometimes, as you said, this is a side project, so we also have our main thing to focus on, and sometimes that leads to a loss of motivation, and us just and you can sometimes get stuck on quite a weird point, and you know, with nothing really, uh, with no good options. So ultimately what happens is you just give up, and you just let it die slowly.
Hmm.
So I'm sure I have run into it before. As Brandon just said, you have run into it before. So what do you think are some of the tips or some of the tools that you can use uh, to sort of get out of it, or keep it going?
Uh, I think so. In terms of technical issues, obviously Stack Overflow
Yeah,
is
just
a
just Google
lifesaver.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think honestly the main thing for me, in terms of like getting unstuck, is like setting aside time and actually dedicating yourself. Because like you said, once I get stuck, and this happens to me all the time, I quit, which is really bad. Unless I'm seriously invested in a project, for side projects, I normally just stop working on them if I get to a blocking point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think setting aside time and like forcing yourself to actually like exert the mental effort to think about how to get unstuck would go a long way. I guess helping people or like asking people for help,
Yeah, that's
for
actually one of
different
my
things
points
too.
where I've been stuck however many times, uh even just doing this project, just this side project I've just talked about. Um, so one of the things when uh, I remember one instant was I wasn't able to get the. Do you know sometimes in on mobile apps or on web apps you can say like log in with Google, and you just use the or log in with Facebook, and you just use your credentials on Google or Facebook, and then it will just register you as the a user there as well, right? So I
Hmm.
was trying to implement something like that. I wasn't able to get it set up, no matter how hard I try. Um, so it basically got to a point when I was like, this is not happening. We'll just do email and password. We'll do it the old way. Um, that happened, and I was pretty sure like I was gonna give up and do the other way. When I went up to GitHub, I went into GitHub issues on the Flutter SDK, and I searched, Google sign in, open issues, and they came up like a dozen of them came up. So it's not it's definitely like, and at that point I realized, this gotta be, it's not just me, it's that other people are having this problem as well. So then I started to correspond with the collaborators or with other people that got stuck. Some people offered the solutions, one of which worked for me. So in the end, I got unstuck. Uh, at the very last of the time when I was like, this is, let me see if somebody else has suffered this in on GitHub before, and then I tried it, and boom. So, I guess,
I think that's one thing I found is like no matter what you're working on, there's someone else
yeah,
working on it, and like there's issues. Like they have run into the same issue that you
yeah,
have.
exactly. I was like, I think one of the points is that you cannot have been the first person to run. So, I mean, obviously there are exceptions, but most likely or not,
Hmm.
what you're facing, one of the problems you're facing right now, even if it's non-technical, you cannot have been the first person to ever experience that. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely reach out to others, or to just ask for help on Twitter, on Stack Overflow or GitHub, and just get, you know, I think we've always had this sort of false conception of the programmer community, that we're all lone wolves, and we don't talk, and we don't ever ask for help, and we'll just dive along on our way. But it's not like that. There's
Mm-hmm.
many people out there that are very they're literally devoted into helping people. There are people that just spend, like, I'm gonna block out 5 hours of my time on a Saturday just answering Stack Overflow questions. I've met
Mm-hmm.
one of these people when I was working at Google's. He was the maintainer for Angular Dart, because Angular it was just starting out. There were lots of bugs, and people are getting confused all over the place on Google Groups, on GitHub, and on Stack Overflow. So this guy was like, when we're just starting out, I'm just gonna do this every week, or like every weekend, or set up 5 hours. I'll just be answering GitHub, either GitHub tickets um, or Stack Overflow questions, and that's great. So don't hesitate to ask for help if you get really stuck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that I think that was one of the ways. So yeah. And one other thing I've noted here was, try to make this into your experience, I would say. So one of the things I did in my last side project was, um, I kept this technical blog where everything I've done, well, most likely everything I've done, I've written a blog post about it. So then in the end of it, I think I got 12 posts, which basically takes from scratch to completion of, like, if you were to reproduce the whole app, you can just go along with that. So, and writing, I think writing about the experience actually helps you a lot, and you'll see people on that comment below, or comment, or like tweet you on Twitter, be like, yeah, we've definitely seen this before, and don't give up. Yeah. Brennan, have you got any sort of? I mean, you don't I don't think you would like explicitly block it out, but I think you talk to your friends, or like, just keep other people in the loop about what you're doing or what you're facing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to.
yeah. Uh, I think we've whined so much about distributed systems, like, along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah. I mean, towards the end, it got a bit crazy, but when it was first starting out, and when we were doing the last bit, the serializer stuff, that was when things got
Mm-hmm.
really crazy.
Yeah, you, John, and Mark were like the people that made distributed systems like fun and like worth it to me. Like I would not have enjoyed that class really if it wasn't for you guys. So I feel like yeah, the community you form around shared issues is definitely an important thing.
Yeah, I was about to say the same. Literally for that thing, and it was you and John. Mark, at the, like,
Mm-hmm.
towards the end, he wasn't that involved.
He wasn't in the
Yeah, he
beginning.
wasn't there in
Yeah,
the
you're
beginning,
right.
uh, and then for this side project, I've this guy on Twitter that just every time I tweet, I've got a new blog post, and he'll just like it, and he'll write something like, keep it going. This is a nice, like, it's nice to have somebody with you uh along
Mm-hmm.
these stuff. Like, it can be, you'll never know what happens in the side project. It can be happy feelings, it can be sad feelings. You get angry why isn't working. This is not even my repo. Somebody else got this bug, and it won't accept my pull request. Uh, it. Don't try to make that a shared experience. Is what I felt, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
How so I have a
yeah.
question which I struggle with a lot and I feel like most other people do just speaking with my close
Uh huh.
friends. Uh programmer, close programmer friends. How do you start a project?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
yeah.
because that's an excellent question. Because you might well be in a point where you'd be like, oh, okay, I should probably start doing a side project, and then what but what do I
Exactly,
do?
yeah.
Um, I don't know. This is for me. A lot of the ideas or like sort of concepts of what I want to do, they are just picked up a lot like on my in my daily lives. For example, this emoji idea is literally ripped out of a YouTube video I watched. It was one of the sessions in Google I/O in 2015, and they were not even doing
Hmm.
that. They were promoting a progressive web app, and they were using that as they were using this half finished emoji stuff as a example to do that. So I was like, that's a fun thing. And what I did was I always have this long. I have a very long list of ideas that I just pick up in daily lives, and I'll just know something like this is something fun. Maybe we can work on it. Literally today, I put an entry,
Hmm.
which said identity system, uh, and replaces passport, and and it's more portable. So like I've had this problem recently where I don't actually have my passport with me at the time. So because of that, I don't
Hmm.
have ID, so I can't buy any alcohol even if I wanted to, which is really annoying. Uh, so
Hmm.
I literally today I was walking past the convenience store when I had a feeling for alcohol and realized I couldn't get it, and I was like, maybe wouldn't it be nice if we had this if we have this some sort of portable digital solution that basically tells you how old I am, uh, and give me my beer. So uh, yeah. And another thing is, I feel like for like side projects, if you want to do that's that's if you don't actually have anything, if you're just starting clean, like absolutely clean, and no
Hmm.
no any like no uh constraint on what you might want to use. If you, however, have an idea of like, okay, I want to use React. I want to do something. I do a side project to learn React or Angular or some sort of or
Hmm.
blockchain or something like that. Then I think it becomes a lot easier because there are lots of people on Medium or just by a Google search that on their own blogs they've done like excellent blog series on tutorials or like something you can follow up on. And I would say when you're just starting out, make them as your side project. There's no shame um, trying to do something that other people have done. Because like unless you're a serious like inventor, you're gonna have to do something that other people have done, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things I really got addicted to was when Flutter was starting out. I was getting all of this, like I signed up to like 10 different newsletters that was like these are the cool projects, these are the cool tutorials that people have done uh, this week, and then I'll just go along. I set aside some time and follow the tutorial and see if I can reproduce like some sort of UI that was described. So and I think
Hmm.
in time you'll get a hang of it, and then you will come up with something for yourself. But starting up, if you're just starting up and you don't have any um, like high expectations on like I want this side project to actually launch and like be useful to people. If you don't, I would suggest not to have the expectation. But in that case, try to start with like some sort of written up tutorial, or sometimes people
Hmm.
um like if you're learning some about something specific, is they will have like official tutorials or like official code labs where you can just basically it was maintained by whoever's developed the technology, so it's almost going to always be up to date and just an excellent way to learn frameworks. That these are written by the guys who wrote the framework, so they know all the ins
Mm-hmm.
and outs and what essentials you need to learn, right?
Yeah. Uh, Coming into Google was definitely a shock due to like the mass amount of like internal technologies they use. Like they don't use, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but basically they use a lot of their own stuff, and like doing code
Oh
labs
yeah.
was my life for like the
Oh
first
yeah.
couple weeks, just trying to get up to speed with their
Yeah.
tech stack.
There's like I can't remember like uh it's like 200 something collabs uh internally. I don't know. I haven't in case you're listening and you're from Google. I'm not working with Google at the moment, so I don't know. That's my guess. But funny enough, Google actually had this external code lab, which you can visit, which is I think it was codelab.google.com, and it has basically a list of stuff you can do, uh, and it's all steps,
It's awesome.
step by step, and it works just as a tutorial, if not better. Uh, yeah, so uh, if you're just starting and you feel like you can't come up with something to do, just do something that's all well documented and and it's well set up to make you learn all the ins and outs of whatever you're trying to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we are probably going to wrap up pretty soon. So this is the compile podcast. So we at the end of it we'll compile a little post, a little list of all the topics. So I would like to probably give it to you first. So do you have?
Oh, you can't put that pressure on me.
I mean, you are the first guest, so
No, you gotta.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Okay.
doesn't have to be like that formal. It's just like, do you have any sort of thought or any like any sort of things you want to mention, like just to wrap up
Okay.
everything?
So like pointers about side projects as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, or like just about the topic in
Okay.
general, like should you like it, should you not
Okay.
like it, or anything that works.
So I guess for the listeners, side projects, definitely do them. I think what Nick said is very important. If you don't know what to do, but want to learn about a topic, there is absolutely no shame in doing what someone else has done. That's been like a big stopping block for me, and I definitely need to get over that. So just start something. It doesn't really matter what you start as long as you're starting something to start out with, because ideas will come. And yeah, if don't get blocked, I guess that's easier
Mhm.
said than done. So if you get blocked, if you get blocked, either dedicate some time, ask for help. Like there's a whole community of people who want to help you. So definitely reach out. Uh, yeah, and just I don't know, side projects are meant to teach and to be fun. So I guess try and learn as much as you can. Don't unless you're like making a startup, I guess. Just try and enjoy your time uh, as you're developing it.
Yeah, it's
I
well
think that's all
said.
I
That's
have.
very well said. I mean, you didn't leave me much here. I guess I would just add on that this I think I briefly touched on this. If you're doing a side project, just starting out, first I mean don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to work on this side project which is gonna launch, it's gonna have like 1 million viewers and be rich just because of this. It's most likely not going to happen. So
Hmm.
lower the expectations and put off the pressure on yourself, and um and secondly I would just say try to be um just make the whole experience, try like you can intentionally make the experience more enjoyable by inserting by saying like, oh, let me have my friends over and I can demo them what I've got, or post some sort of short. I've done this a lot where it's like posting some sort of teaser videos on Facebook, on Twitter, and and add a bunch of people, which I think is harassment, but if it works for you, don't, yeah, and
Yeah.
lastly, just don't rush it. I feel like a lot of people when they are starting out, because that's what it try like it always is, right? You go onto a course or like online course or some sort of tutorial. They will be like, in 5 weeks you'll be like an Angular master or something like that, right? No, like it's not easy as that. Like you have no idea how
Yeah.
much time people took to even roll up the framework. It's very hard to be like, I'm going to master this technology in 5 weeks. It's no, like, right.
Mm-hmm.
So don't rush it, I would say. Try to do things. I'm not saying like be slow and stagnate, but definitely don't push yourself too much, because it's if you do, and I've done this along like a awful lot when I want to like just push it out. I was be like, okay, in this 2 weeks I'm gonna get it out, and it just affects you. Like it stops being fun, which loses all the point of doing the side project in the first place. Like
Mm-hmm.
apart from the learning, it's supposed to be fun, and if you take out the fun, you might as well not be doing it much anyway. So
Yeah.
I would say just don't rush it, and enjoy the process, and involve other people in as well. It's it. I mean, you don't. There's no restriction that says like you have to be, even if it's a personal project, you don't have to do it all by yourself. For example, for this, this podcast can be a side project of me. I'm not doing it all by myself. I have Brennan as my brilliant guest in my first episode. So, and I've got yeah,
Appreciate
and I've
it.
got like other guests coming along as well. John, yeah, we'll give it a teaser, John, which is coming probably next episode.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And John is
yeah,
our good
it's.
friend.
I think literally he's
Context.
probably my best friend. Like you two are probably my best friend in UNC. Like on my whole year there, and it's amazing. Isn't it amazing? Because I've been gone for about more than a year, and we're still keep in touch. And you guys are happy.
Yeah, I love it. I was
Yeah,
really
and you
happy
guys
when
are
you reached
happy to
out.
come on to this dumb podcast. So yeah. Uh, cool. So I guess we'll wrap up. So before we wrap up, we have this last section which might not work as well. So we have this thing called pick and plug, which is if there's something that you want to recommend, or is your pick of the week, or is there something recently that you just encountered and you think, oh, that's kind of cool, let me just recommend it to our listeners. It doesn't have to be technical, by the way. So whatever you recommend, can be an ice cream for all I know. So anything to plug. That's a weird thing to say. Anything to.
Okay, so I have a machine learning blockchain startup that's like Uber, but for machine
Okay.
learning. So,
Right.
uh,
Okay.
I don't actually have that. I don't know. I was just trying to throw in as many buzzwords as I could think. Let's see. Probably, yeah. Everyone use Google Pay. Better than Venmo. Use it.
Is that because you work on Google Pay?
Uh, I do work on Google Pay. I do think it is better, but yeah, that is because I work
is
there.
it coming to the watch? Because I've got a watch. I don't know if it works on the watch, yet. I know it works on the phone. I use
that
it all
would
the time.
probably be a cool next thing.
Surprisingly, you don't get Venmo in the UK, so you're stuck with Google Pay or the Apple one.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and also it's worked pretty well. So.
Yeah, I actually think. Yeah, they are big on international because I think the U.S. market it'll be hard to corner the U.S. market considering everyone already has Venmo or PayPal or Square or some other form of P2P.
I don't even know the UK one. This is a great. If you live in the UK and you know what it is, let me know in the comment. I need to get that installed. Because I think I'm gonna have a hard time trying to fit in with all my new colleagues if I don't know how to spare their drink money.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. So Google Play is the not Play. Google Pay is the pick of the week. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. For me, let's see. I don't know. My pick of the week would be the guitar. I guess I've just started to learn to play recently, and it has brought me so much joy. In the past 6 weeks or so. It does hurt. Your fingers do hurt, but in time you get past that, and then that's my pick of the week. If you haven't, it doesn't have to be the guitar, like any sort of musical instrument. I think that's good for you. Get your eyes away from the computer, and you might still be watching YouTube tutorials, but whatever. That I think for our first episode it worked out quite well, and teaser for next episode, the guest will be John. He'll be talking about, I don't know what he will be talking about, but we'll see. And thanks, Brennan, for being our first guest. You've done brilliantly well, and I could not be more happy.
All right, thank you so much.
Right, okay. Anything else you want to add?
Not that I can think of. I think guitar is a really good pick. I feel like I definitely should learn an instrument at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I literally started like 6 weeks ago, so it's never late to start. And I think with that we will wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for listening in. If you have any suggestions on how we might be able to improve the podcast, any topics you want us to discuss, let me know in the comment section, and I will see you in the next episode.
Okay.